Well, everybody, what's the crack? And welcome back to episode number 28 of the Inline G Flute podcast with me, your host, motherfucking Inline G. It's good to see you guys again. I haven't left. I've just recorded episode 27, not 30 seconds ago. I finished my coffee, I went downstairs, I poured myself a cherry cola inside my raccoon mug. I did a quick costume change, and I'm back, and I'm ready to rock. Fuck, that is nice. And it's going to be a much more relaxed episode this week. You're just going to have to let me speak here. Normally I structure my episodes very strictly to make sure I don't run out of things to talk about, but that will not be the case this week because I am talking about something so close to my heart, something that I just want to talk about. This is a pub episode. This is what it's like if you ever take me out for a couple of pints of Guinness on a Saturday night and say, hey Gareth, what was your favourite flute record of recent years? This is the answer you're getting. You're getting a 35-minute monologue on a superb album and a superb musician. So I'm just going to roll with it this week, guys. Basically, what had happened was last year, I did do that top flute albums of 2023 episode. I think it was episode number 24, something around that. Losing count these days, running this game, man. Anyway, that episode came out, and I had to do a little bit of research and narrow down which 5 albums I was going to choose for the top 5. But the number one, they weren't ranked, but there was a number one, was very easy. Because it was an album I just fell in love with. I cannot rant and rave about how good I found this album. And I sort of thought, it's so good that I felt like the review I did during that episode, it just didn't do it justice. I'm such a fan of this album that I thought it deserved an entire podcast episode on its own, which is the first time on the Inline G podcast where I've reviewed one album on its own. That is how much I love this album. There are only 2 problems with the album, which I will get to later if I remember. But I love this album so much, and I just want to talk to you guys about it and tell you about it. So what is the album? Well, if you didn't hear that episode, my number one album of last year, and one of my number one albums featuring the flute of the last few years, and one of my favourite of all time, is an album called California Dreamin by the one, the only, and the magnificent Julien Beaudiment. In the last episode, I did a whole thing about French pronunciation of people's names. I know it makes me seem like a wanker, but his name is Julien Beaudiment. Okay, I'm not going to call him Julien Beaudiment. Fuck that, okay? It's Julien Beaudiment. He released this album, California Dreamin, last year. And it is such a breath of fresh air to the flute world. It is so new and vibrant. It's taken so many ideas from different types of music, but treating it so seriously. It is a masterpiece. It has really went under the radar as well of how good this album is, and this is exactly what I think the flute world and the classical music world needs to do more of. I am such a fan of it. So I'm going to go through it. I'm going to go through every track, and I've made some notes on it because I just did when I was listening to it one day on the train coming home from a football match, and I had a few pints in me. So my notes are particularly generous because I think we won that day as well. Yeah, we did. We won like 3-1, so I was in a very good mood that day. So come and get comfortable with me, guys. Go pour yourself something and listen into this. Definitely go and listen to the album afterwards. I'm not even going to put in a track of it to listen to. I'm not going to put an excerpt because I've got stung a few times for copyright issues. But after this, go listen to the album. It is the most easy listening flute album, yet also brilliant, that there is out there. You can genuinely stick it on in the car. You can stick it on when you're sitting at home. Go for a walk and put it in your AirPods, or your earphones. It was a bastardization of the both. Wherever you are, go stick it on. It's perfect for every occasion. So, let's get into California Dreamin. Let's stop talking here. This is too much bollocks. California Dreamin. So, we're going to talk about the cover first, actually, because I fucking love the cover. It features a picture of Julien, obviously looking like he's in California, by a swimming pool. Beautiful, like, 70s, 80s filter on it. That very soft, pastely kind of look. The font is fucking gorgeous, man. It reminds me a little bit of the font that I use for my logo here on the Inline G podcast and all my like text and stuff. It's that very like hyper stylized, almost Grand Theft Auto style font, if you know what I'm talking about, in this beautiful yellow. It's gorgeous. It's got a picture of Julien. He looks great, obviously. He's French. They all look great all the fucking time. It's annoying how good looking French people are. He's got his flute. The only problem, one of the two only problems of this album is he's got his feet out. You shouldn't get feet out in music. I am starting this campaign. I am going to push this much. I hate bare feet. I cannot tell you, out of all the things in the world I don't want to see on a stage, bare feet is in the top 5. Out of all the things on planet Earth, bare feet is in top 5. I fucking hate feet, man. I hate them. They're disgusting. I wish I didn't need mine. I wish I was born with socks and 2 stumps, but I'm not. There's feet on the album, so if you're not great with feet, sorry. Contemporary music as well. What is it about contemporary music that people don't wear fucking shoes? Man, it's disgusting. Wear shoes. See, if you're a performer that thinks it's cool and makes you grounded, like feel the surface of the stage and perform in bare feet, I'm letting you know, you ruin the gig for like half your audience. People like me, it puts me straight off a performance. I've been to gigs where no matter how well they're playing, I just think the whole time they're fucking big honkers, right? Big stinking claws out in the stage, sweaty big hooves, honking. Julien has nice feet as far as I go. I'm not going to comment on that, Jesus Christ, but you know what I mean. Don't like feet. That's one of 2 problems, so that's not a bad problem to have. But the cover is gorgeous, and that's why I want to talk about it. If you walk past that cover, you would not think that's a classical music album. You would just think, oh, that looks like a cool album. That looks like something I want to stick on in my car when I'm driving down with the sunroof back through the streets of LA. That's what it looks like. It looks like a summer evening, you know, when the sunset's coming down, you got your glasses on, and you're just fucking enjoying it. It looks like that kind of album. I didn't do that. I live in Germany and I'm from Ireland, so we don't have sunroofs on our cars. I don't let the sun go through my hair, or the wind go through my hair, because I haven't had hair since 2014. But the idea, it transports me to that place anyway. And the album suits that, which is one of the rare times where I feel like the cover of the album is deliberately trying to portray the image of the album. It's not just showing off the artist, some generic stock picture of someone holding the fucking flute. It's got a theme to it. This album cover suits the music that's within it and the theme and the narrative of it, the way every other fucking type of music does, apart from classical music. We're the only people that don't do that. It's insane. So the album cover is gorgeous. Go check it out. Now, the album itself, what is it? How do I describe this? I haven't bought the album, okay? Julien, if you're listening, I'm sorry I haven't bought it. I've streamed it. But I've streamed it like fucking 300 times, so you probably got a few quid out of me, but I haven't bought it. So I haven't got the little booklet. I should have got that, I know, but I haven't. So I don't know what Julien wants to say about this in his own words, but this really feels like a pop album or a rock album as opposed to a classical music album. It is a collection of, there's like, 16 tracks on this. There is a narrative. There is a construction to it. It's different composers. They're all kind of within this feeling of classical music going to America. Early Hollywood days, late romanticism, slightly jazz influenced, easy listening, Gershwin-y kind of stuff. There's loads of different composers in this. Most of it, I think nearly everything on it actually, is arrangements for flute. There's no original flute works in this. They're all arrangements, but beautiful arrangements. Most of the album is flute and piano. There is a string quartet that features in it. There's sections with some percussion in it as well. But the heart of it, and the 2 names on the album, are Julien and Bruno Fontaine, the piano player. But there's so much in it. That's why I don't want to try and tell you guys about the album before you listen to it. It's so unique. And you should just view it as like it genuinely feels like a Strokes album to me. It looks like a Strokes album. The structure of it feels like a Strokes album. There you are, Julien. That's the best. And here, the lead singer of the Strokes, Julien Casablancas. There you are. Am I the first person to compare Julien Beaudiment's album to the Strokes? You're fucking right, I am. So let's get into it. Right, tracks. How long have I been recording? I've been talking for 8 minutes already. We haven't even got into it. Right, I'm going to go through track by track because I cannot tell you how impressed I am with the choice of repertoire. I think that's half the battle in this album, is the choice. So the first track, La La Land. Now I didn't expect that. It's Another Day of Sun, the track's called. It's just under 4 minutes long. I hated La La Land, the film, by the way. I thought it was fucking shit, man. I thought it was dog shit. I just really didn't like it. And I love your woman, Emma Stone. I loved her in Spider-Man, but I did not like her in La La Land. I thought it was shit, man. I just didn't like it. But it looked beautiful. And the music was beautiful in many ways. But this, for flute and piano, oh my god, does it work. It is gorgeous. So this gets the album off to a blistering start. I mean, straight away you're like, fuck, here we go. We're in for a ride here. Colourful, energetic. And this is the perfect example of a genuinely magnificent flute player. Like, one of the best flute players on planet Earth at the minute. A fucking seasoned, orchestral, great soloist, using his world-class articulation, not dumbing down his articulation, not bringing down his phrasing or his tone because it's not classical music, using everything he's got to the best of his ability, treating this music as if it was Beethoven or if it was Wagner or if it was Mahler, and all that phrasing, and putting it into this normal music. Normal, unquote, unquote. Quote, unquote. So it's one of the few chances you get to enjoy this kind of music by that level of musicianship. And by that level, the flute player doesn't exist anywhere else. No one else is doing this. Great flute players do play this kind of music sometimes, but they don't treat it as seriously as Julien has here. And that's what makes it great. So fucking listen to that. Your album's off to a flyer. Now, the next track is A Place in the Sun. Now, what did I write about this? Oh, yeah. Angela's theme. So it's an old Elizabeth Taylor film. I haven't actually seen it, to be totally honest. But this is a very different track now. It's quite short as well. How long is this? Yeah, it's 5.5 minutes, give or take. So this has got a lot of strings in it, and they're really dirty and unsettling and grindy. And then they sort of move about a lot and go back to this like sexy, soft jazz. There's a lot of appoggiaturas, like that kind of like leaning into notes and then really milking them dry, and fucking, it's one of those oozy tracks. But it can be really unsettling at times too, unnerving, very dark. If anyone's seen the film, let me know. The Place in the Sun I know is that one where like Brits go to buy houses, the daytime reality TV show on Channel 4, where British people buy houses in Benidorm. I don't think the theme is from that. And there's a lot of alto flute in this. I think it's nearly all alto flute, so that's great as well. And again, you're going to hear someone play the alto flute fucking brilliantly and using it as a genuine artistic choice and not as some fucking gimmick. Or like 90% of the alto flute playing I hear these days, or 95% of it, is people that are too shit to play the flute. They play the alto flute to cover up their mistakes. So it's not alto flute played well. When you hear it in an orchestra or you hear it played beautifully, you're like, oh my God, that is a beautiful instrument. Most of the time I hear it, it's just bad technique. Sorry. Right, track number 3. An American in Paris. You all know this. This is one of the highlights of the album for me. It's 7 minutes long. Like, it's the thing. It's The American in Paris by George Gershwin for flute and piano. Like, a full orchestral piece, full of colour, rhythm, timbre. Such a heavy piece, arranged for flute and piano. It reminds me a little bit of how a lot of people do that arrangement of Debussy's L'Après-midi d'un Faune for flute and piano. I've played that once. It is fucking exhausting. It is so hard because it's so much going on. And most people treat it as like, oh, we just play a wee melody, but you can't. You're taking the entire orchestra and you have to change your colour all the time. You have to change your style, your rhythm. You have to exaggerate things you wouldn't normally do to make those differences evident. Whereas sometimes, for example, in the orchestra, just the fact that it's changed instrument is enough to make a new melody sound different. If you're playing it all on the same instrument, you have to do something extra to show us that it's not the same thing 5 times. So you have to do extra interpretation. You have to work harder than you normally would because the instrument doesn't work. So this reminds me of that. It's so much going on, and I'm so glad to hear 2 musicians of that caliber properly playing it, properly going for this, not just sticking it on an album and thinking, that's a little fun thing to end the album with, properly treating this as a serious piece of repertoire. And the star of this is Bruno Fontaine, the piano player. Obviously Julien plays incredibly well, but this track, it's all Bruno, man. He's so fucking good. He is, mummy, he's class. He's absolutely brilliant. He's got that, go listen to it. He's taking the entire orchestra and putting it into his fingers and again treating it seriously. There is that solo, you know, the one I'm talking about, the clarinet solo. No, the clarinet solo in the original. But anyway, the big bendy solo. Oh man, there's a lot of solos. He does a lot of key bends in this as well. It just feels like it's nearly made for French people. I know it's not a French composer. I know it's Gershwin. I know he's American, but it's so oozy and so nuanced and subtle, and it just feels like it's made for French people, and you don't get much more French than Julien Beaudiment. And the way he plays those solos, and sorry audio listeners, you can't see what I'm doing here, but it's that, it's like full fat Greek yogurt, you know what I mean? It's just, it's that's what his sound is like. So it's a small arrangement, but it feels like a full orchestral arrangement. There's the energy and the dedication and the commitment of a full orchestral arrangement. They're really playing this. I'm actually amazed that this is so early in the album. To put this as number 3 in the album is quite a shock. I would have ended with this, but it tells you the strength of the rest of the album that they can afford to put this so early into it. And again, that's the kind of way that indie musicians, rock musicians, they would do that as well. They would put one of their big hitters, one of their big tracks at the start, one at the end as well, and you have to weigh it out. Classical musicians, we don't tend to do that. So I'm glad to see that, because it keeps the album list, it's very listenable, because you're getting such a big number straight away. Number 4, Speedy Gonzales. I love this one. We used to play this in flute bands all the time. It's a Henry Mancini track, Speedy Gonzales. If you don't know it, it's super fun, it's super cheesy. There's a really slow, show-offy virtuoso second section. This is an arrangement for string, percussion, what else? And piano, obviously with the flute. This is now the definitive version of Speedy Gonzales. Okay, this is the one now. If you go to look it up on the internet, you go to find it anywhere, this is the definitive version. Because once again, it's mainly like pops orchestras or pops orchestra style players that do this kind of music, and they don't take it seriously a lot of the time when they're recording it for albums. They sort of throw it together as an end to it. He's really going for this again. So this has become the definitive version. If you say to someone, oh, have you never heard Speedy Gonzales, the tune by Henry Mancini, you go to Julien Beaudiment's album and you listen to that one. Yeah, it's one of those ones you play it when you were 15 years old, if you're good, to show off, but you never hear it done by like world-class musicians. So this is so fucking fun. It is one of my favorite tracks on the album. It's so much fun. Go listen to it. Now, number 5, totally turning the car around here, bringing this in 180, keeping us interested. We have Quatre Visages, Le Californien by Mio. Is it Darius or Denis? Mio. Fuck. Anyway, the piece is originally for viola and piano. I've never heard it in flute, ever. I wouldn't even consider doing this on flute. I don't even know where you'd find the idea to do this on flute, so bravo for that. It does feel like it could be like a Gershwin or a Bernstein kind of piece, but it's got the underlying sort of complexity of the chords that make it that very French. Like, we're talking French post-Ravel, post-Debussy. We're talking the more like Dutilleux, Messiaen kind of era French. It feels like that. The complexity of the chords, they're quite dark, they're quite jazzy. They're almost a little bit uncomfortable at times. It's got that kind of feel to it. Mio did write a flute piece. He wrote a sonatine for flute. Well, you guys probably played it because we don't have much repertoire. He did write it, but I am so glad this is on the album instead. It's a short little interlude. It's very pretty, and it shows off Mio's composing a little bit more. So the next track, number 6, L'Automne Californien, Hans Eisler. Big fan of Hans Eisler's music. Again, so happy to see this. This was a song for a song series called the Hollywood Liederbuch, or the Hollywood Songbook. It is dramatic. This is a dramatic tune. Sexy, dark, rich. I have written here, Julien Beaudiment was made for this music with a little heart. That's it. Go listen to it. It is drama heavy, fucking rich class. Number 7, we're still sticking with Hans Eisler. We have a tune called Hollywood. So we're going from the last tune by Eisler, very dark and dramatic, to something much more light. And the opening chords play on that. So the opening chords of this track still play on that transition between dark and light. We're moving between one to the other. We're going between the darkness, the lightness, the major, the minor, that constant fluctuation, uncertainty of where we are tonally. I love that, but not so far that it becomes like atonal or serial. It's not that level. It almost feels like a funeral march, and it's taken us on, I wouldn't say the halfway, I suppose it's the halfway point of the album officially. In terms of tracks, it's a halfway point, but it's taken us in a new direction on the album. And again, this is what I love about this record, is there's a clear narrative. It's not just throwing a couple of pieces together and hoping they work together, or picking two pieces. There's 14 tracks on this album, and the narrative takes loads of twists and turns as it goes along, which I love. I absolutely love that. So this is where we're starting. You can feel the album starting to go in a new direction here. Bit more serious now. Number 8, Die Heimkehr, still with Mr. Eisler. This is a fucking pretty tune, man. This is pretty. This is really, that's the only word I can think to describe it. It's pretty. Beaudiment milks it. He milks how pretty it is, and light, and its colour. And we talk about colour because it's such a fluid idea about what we mean when someone says they change the colour of their instrument or change the colour of the music. But it goes to extremes. The timbre of the flute playing itself, the actual pure quality of tone, changes a lot in this track. And it is that very French, lovely, light, gentle, with that little undertone of richness to the sound. It's light, but it's got heart to it. The sound is never colourless, ever. That's just forbidden. Julien Beaudiment never does anything boring, ever. If he's going to do something light, it's going to be so fucking painfully gorgeously light. And he knows this is pretty, and you can hear him playing with it, and you can hear him having fun with it, and he knows not to take it too seriously. Now, then we go into the next one. Speaking of things that are not too serious, Lujon. I'm probably butchering it. Lujon, maybe, by Henry Mancini. So what have I written about this? Okay. First of all, you know this tune. I didn't know I knew this tune when I read the name. Someone tell me, is it Lujon or Lujon, before I butcher another fucking thing in this podcast. You will know it. It's a tune in loads of things. You've heard it in loads of different TV series and stuff. The one I know it from is The Big Lebowski. When the dude is getting drugged in the apartment, this tune plays. It's also really popular in TikTok. Well, it's not anymore. The point of recording this is not, but it was very popular in TikTok. It's got that kind of dinner music vibe. This is the composition, not Julien's playing, but the composition has got that like very cheesy 1950s orchestral American sound. You know what I mean? Like, it's got that vibe. Come here, see? Like that kind of, American TV advert kind of thing. TV dinners. There is a very fine line with that kind of music being too much or being tasteful. And it is a very fine line. This sits on that line, man. Sometimes Henry Mancini can be a bit much. Some of his music can be a bit shit. I'm not going to lie. It's cheesy, but it goes a bit far. This sits right on the line. Because it's Julien Beaudiment playing, I'm going to say it sits on the good side of the line and it remains tasteful. Anyone else playing this, it would go the other way. It'd be too much. But the thing to listen to in this track is all the big runs, the big fast runs, how effortless. You can just feel, you can nearly hear the smoothness of the fingers. I know that sounds stupid, but the way he plays these runs are so light and so effortless and so they just flutter past. You can feel the image it brings in your head is this feeling of very light fingers. It's the kind of track I would listen to if I wanted to put myself in a good mental state to go and practice scales. I would listen to this first and just get that in my head, try to recreate that sound that I'm hearing. That would get me in the right mental place to go practice scales. So there you are. You can use it as an etude and you can enjoy the music. Okay, number 10, Mahnung by Schoenberg. From the Bretter Lieder collection, which translates to cabaret songs. Now, Schoenberg, we'll say Schoenberg, we'll not use the German one for now. But Schoenberg, a lot of misconceptions about Arnold Schoenberg, okay? Obviously, we know him most famously for things like Pierre Lunaire and serialism and atonality and very crazy compositions that are a bit out there for some people. I fucking love it. But most of Schoenberg, or a good chunk of Schoenberg's work, was heavily romantic. He was one of the people that took the romantic era pretty much to its limit. There's that piece, isn't it? Verklare Nacht, that nearly takes romanticism right to its limit. So Schoenberg was writing some very beautiful romantic tunes, and this is one of them. Okay, so the basic story behind this is his brother-in-law, called Alexander Zemlinsky, and no, it's not that one. It's not obviously the fucking president of Ukraine. That's Alexander Zelensky. My opinions on my knowledge on world affairs are not great sometimes. But anyway, his brother-in-law Alexander opened up a cabaret club in Vienna, but it was modelled after the Chat Noir, the cabaret club in Paris. So this is in the early 1900s. So it's got that very French kind of cabaret feel, and Schoenberg wrote pieces for that. So that's what these pieces are for. They're deliberately designed. That's what Breitenlieder means. It means cabaret songs. They're deliberately designed to be sung in cabaret. Again, not a flute piece. These are songs arranged for flute and piano. They suit Julien down to the ground. He's playing up to his strengths here because they're cheesy. They're very French in style. Not too cheesy though. Still romantic and subtle and oozy and a little bit cheeky. And I love it. And it's a lovely little respite after the previous track where it nearly went a little bit too far. Now we're going back into just proper tasteful. Now, track number 11, The Serenade by Korngold. Now, Korngold is a composer that's fascinating to me. Someone I only found maybe the last 5-6 years to really get to know. Has a very well-known violin concerto, but Erich Wolfgang Korngold, he's most well-known because he was one of the early people to start writing film scores. Way before, John Williams and all that, when Hollywood films were starting to become a big thing, he was one of the first composers, certainly one of the first already established composers to start writing film scores. You can hear in all of Korngold's music the direct link to John Williams. You can hear hints of Jurassic Park and of E.T. and Star Wars in Korn, especially if you go listen to the violin concerto. That feels like a movie score. And his music is like that. It's very colourful. Very, very colourful. A lot of brass, a lot of major chords, a lot of punchiness, a lot of energy. It's film music. It really sounds like that. And this, it's not as that, but it is still super dramatic, super rich, super film-esque. There's a better word for that. Film-esque. That's not the word I'm looking for. To be like a film. What's the fucking word for that? Jesus. That cherry coat is rotting my brain, boy. But it's a short wee arrangement of a longer serenade that's written for strings. And this is for flute and piano. Again, this is the kind of music that you have to work so hard on to make the colours speak, because most of the colours come from the instrumentation. So to bring it to a chamber arrangement, you have to work your ass off, and you have to be a fucking good musician to keep it interesting. Thankfully, we've got two of the very best here. So it's happy, it's bright, it's rich, and it's very Hollywood, and it's gorgeous. And it brings us up into one of the big hitters on this album. Again, so well weighted where he puts this in. Track number 12 is Rhapsody on a Theme of Paganini by Sergei Rachmaninoff. Yes, that one. Now, for anyone not familiar with this, if you don't know this, Jesus Christ, stop this podcast. Go listen to that. Rachmaninoff, it was originally written for piano and orchestra. It almost sounds like a piano concerto. It is essentially a piano concerto, just not called that. So it's a theme, a tune. The piano plays it with orchestra accompanying, full orchestra, big romantic orchestra, and then there's a shitload of variations on that. It's quite long, there's loads of variations, but the variation that everyone knows is variation 18. That's the one. That's one we all know. It's very famous. It is heartbreakingly gorgeous. One of the great melodies of all time. And the way Rachmaninoff does it is just, oh my god. So this version for flute and piano is just the 18th variation. I have no words to describe how good this was. I'm not even going to try. Go and listen to it. If you're going to listen to one track off this album, go stick that one on. Oh my god. I melted. So away you go. Number 13. No Word from Tom. Igor Stravinsky. So it comes from an opera, the Rake's Progress, which was written in English. It is an English opera. Now this is darker than pretty much anything in the album so far, more intimate, and it's very Stravinsky. It's very, very Stravinsky. I love this aria, by the way. I know this opera. The opera is banging. It's like it's a mad story about the guy called, what's his name, Tom Rakewell. Like the devil pops up in it and all. It's fucking crazy. The whole thing's insane. But this is the very famous aria from it. So again, it's a song. It's arranged for flute and piano. There's no original flute works. It's a very famous aria. Again, it sits almost a recurring theme here. It sits between the major and minor a lot. It's that kind of era where the music, it could be going light and then it turns to dark a few seconds later and it comes back and forth, and you never really settle anywhere. You don't know if you're meant to laugh or cry or to be upset. You don't know what's going on. It constantly moves around, which gives it this unsettling quality. But the music itself isn't unsettling. It's just the fact that it doesn't know where it's going yet. Just when you think you're enjoying it, it takes you somewhere else. What really impressed me about this track is Julien Beaudiment's vibrato. It's a masterclass in how to use vibrato. This track especially. It goes all different wavelengths, different speeds, different depths, different colours. Go listen to that and concentrate on that if you want a bit of a flute lesson, because that's what this is. There's a wee like cadenza. It's not a cadenza, but I'll call it a cadenza at the end, where the flute solo. Listen to that, and the richness in the bottom octave. Fuck. So tasteful. The big quote, or the moral of the opera story is, for idle hearts and minds and hands, the devil finds work to do. Sexy or what? Right, number 14. Right? There's two problems with this album. One was the feet in the front cover. Second problem is track number 14. Now, that's not Julien's fault. It's no one else's fault. Well, it's not my fault, but it's my fault that I don't like it. Track number 14 is an arrangement of the Star Spangled Banner. Now, fuck me. The American National Anthem. The last thing I want to hear any day of the week, but especially on an album by this guy. I just don't want it. I think it's a shite anthem. It's badly written. It's shit. It brings up so many bad images. The only time I ever listen to this anthem is when I'm Googling or YouTubing compilation of Americans fucking it up. Because they sing it at every sporting event. The Americans always go so crazy with like the fucking dancing around the top notes and all. It's ridiculous. Like the Fergie one. If anyone hasn't seen Fergie singing this, it was that one of the, wasn't an NFL game? Fergie from Black Eyed Peas. Fuck me. So good. People have destroyed this. So that's what I know this from. I know this being so over the top. I don't think I've ever heard a version of the Star Spangled Banner just sang straight. Just sang the way it's written. It's always overindulged, over ornamented, screaming at the top, like that musical theatre, like Scream. So I've never liked it. And it's just fucking American. It's just, it's got the troops and the Eagles and all that bollocks. So listen, when I saw Star Spangled Banner on this album, I wasn't delighted. I will say, I will never, ever, ever enjoy listening to this piece of music, no matter what. But the closest I'll ever get is this version. It's with the strings. It's got a little bit of percussion too with the drums and all. It's actually just played kind of straight and normal. It's not some kind of over-the-top arrangement. It's played nice. So it's the first time I've actually heard the melody just played beautifully. I don't like it. I don't like the melody. I don't know why it's on the album. I need to ask Julien probably and find out, but I feel like it's probably put in to help to appeal to the American market maybe. Do Americans need to have this in every record? I know you guys do the Pledge and the Allegiance and all that shit, so I don't know. Maybe this is just one to get the Texans on, but I don't know. But not my cup of tea. Beautifully played, obviously, because we're talking world-class musicians. The string quartet in this, I think it's the Magenta Quatuor. Yeah, incredible the whole time they play. This is just pure my own taste. Fuck the American National Anthem. But anyway, last track. And this is, oh man, I listened to this album. I had no idea what to expect. I saw the album cover and I went, oh, Julien Beaudiment's got a new album out. That looks kind of cool. Listen to it. Went in with fresh ears. Didn't look at the track list. Didn't know what was coming. It got to the last track and I was going, I fucking know that. And I'm thinking, nah, there's no way it's what I think it is. And I was listening, what the fuck it is? And it was great. So the last track is the title track. It's California Dreamin. When I say California Dreamin, what do you guys think of? Do you think of the song by the Mamas and the Papas? I do. That's what this is. This is an arrangement of that. So for those who don't know, you do know the song. You 110% know the song. But the song was written by John, I think it was John Phillips on his own. It might have been John and Michelle Phillips from the Mamas and the Papas. They were like a folk rock group in America. They were LA, kind of like hippie, folky rock kind of stuff. You know, big in the 60s and 70s, that kind of vibe. It's a massive song. It's been triple platinum, the original song. What's really cool about the original as well is one of the few pop songs is written in C sharp minor. One of my favorite fucking keys. You know, the Moonlight Sonatas in C sharp minor. They have the Fantasy Impromptu de Chopin. That's in C sharp minor. It's a stormy, dark, uncomfortable key. Normally pop songs are not written in C sharp minor, but this one is. So it is that song. Oh, one version of it you might know is the Beach Boys covered it as well. They did a great cover. This is, I cannot tell you how insane it is to end a classical album. Well, classical musician, there's nothing classical about it, I suppose, but to end a flute album with this, a flute and piano version of California Dreamin' by the Mamas and the Papas is unbelievable. I have never seen anything like this. Is the kind of shit I would love to do. Like for a time, I started putting in my own flute and piano version of Marty Bum by the Arctic Monkeys into my recital programs because I loved it. This is Julien doing that, but to a whole different level. Much better. Obviously, much better player, much better arrangement, and I just love the fact that he did that. I adore that. He just looks like he's put together 15 of his favourite tracks in the world and went, yeah, they've got a theme towards them. I love all these. I'm going to make my own album. Fuck it. And it works so well. It's a great version. It's beautifully played. It's got a lovely arrangement. It's very well done. But the thing that impresses me most is the fact that this is on a flute album. Because so far, all the songs have some kind of like light classical connection. You know, they're either film scores or they're written by respected classical composers who've maybe dipped their toes in more contemporary or poppy stuff. This is not that. This is a pop song or, you know, a rock song. This has nothing to do with classical music. He's obviously got this arrangement done for him by someone because he loves the track so much. It is incredible. I'm so impressed they did it. Blew me away. And this is what I think the flute world needs. We need more records like this. If I was to recommend to someone who never listened to the flute an album, especially one of my someone who's a good taste in music, one of my cooler friends, you know, who listens to good music and they want to get into classical, this is definitely the album you'd recommend. It looks good, it sounds good, it's sexy, it's stylish, it's got things they'll recognize on it, but played well, not just thrown in as a throwaway bit of fun. Treated seriously. He plays this with as much commitment as he would anything else. I think, to be honest, when you get to Julien Beaudiment's level, you do everything with that commitment. But to record it and make an album of it and put so much effort into this album, I fucking love it. So that's where the album ends. It is an unbelievable end to an album, and it is a beautiful song as well. It's a very melancholic, hippie kind of song. I don't know how to describe it. You know the song. To do it this way was great, and it just shows how much thought was put into the narrative and the structure and the story the album's trying to tell, because it is quite a sentimental way to end the album, to bring that in and to do something so revolutionary. I'm sure the temptation to throw in something like Speedy Gonzales at the end for this kind of album would be more normal. That'd be a strong temptation. Most flute players would throw in something virtuosic and fast and showy, or some shite like the penny whistle jig or something like that. But no, Julien does something so classy and refined. And if he's picking a pop song, he doesn't just pick any shit pop song. He's picking a great pop song by a great band and a respected musical band. 10 out of 10. That's it. So that's the album, guys. How long have we talked? 35 minutes? Fuck me. Been on a while for one album. I was right what I was going to say about this album. Jesus, I haven't stopped. Right, guys, so this, I don't know when this episode's coming out. I think it's coming out fucking 12th of January, probably. I'm pre-recording. Hopefully, the next few episodes are going to have guests on. I don't know. I'm still in Paris, probably, when you're listening to this. Go and listen to this album. Seriously, if you're going to listen to one Flute album, go and listen to this. Also to support Julien and to make sure he gets plays, because this album should be more well known. This should be on normal radio stations. Tracks from this can be played on radio. I would have thought this album would have fucking exploded. It hasn't really, which breaks my heart because it's so good. So go listen to it. Listen to a couple of tracks off it. Share it on your stories. Go tell Julien what you think of it. He's on social media. I think his Instagram got hacked recently. Or no, it didn't. That was Juliette. Sorry. Juliette had her Instagram got hacked. No, but anyway, go and send him a message and tell him how much you loved it. I'm sure he'd be delighted to hear. Guys, as always, thank you for listening. Oh fuck, I never even told you about the donation shit. Right, we're not donating, okay? Same as last week. Forget about the donations. I know it's in the description somewhere here, but fuck it. Don't donate this week, okay? I love getting your donations. They're incredibly appreciated. But what I want instead from you this week is to put your money away. Go buy yourself something nice. Support the podcast in a different way. You don't need to use money for this. If you're listening to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere like that, go and subscribe to it and give it 5-star rating. I'm not asking you to subscribe because you'll get more of it. It helps me. It's a great way to support an independent artist is to subscribe. The more subscribers you get, the more it gets recommended to other people, the more revenue can be generated from it, the more popular it gets, blah, blah, blah. It's something you can do to support the podcast so easily. Just hit that button, 5 stars, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to my channel, please. Like and comment. I know you're sick of hearing people saying this to you, but it really does help. The algorithm will favor you more if there's likes and comments. Comment anything. I don't give a fuck what you comment. Just comment saying hello. Leave it there. If there's a comment, it helps, and like the video. And finally, please go and check out my social media sites. Okay? I'm on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. Facebook is Gareth Houston Flutist. Don't go to my personal page. Go to my actual band page. TikTok is Gareth Houston Flute. Instagram is Gareth Houston Flute. Go and follow me, please. Okay? These are ways you can support me as an artist so much. It doesn't cost you a penny. It'll take you 10 seconds now. Get your phone out. Go follow all the social media pages. If you already do follow them or you're already subscribed, leave a comment somewhere. Like a couple of things. If you're subscribed to my YouTube page and you've already done things, go and find a couple of the shorts that I put up. They get no fucking traction on YouTube. Go into my videos on them and just go in them. Just hit the like button. Don't even watch them. Just fucking hit the like button on a few of them. It saves my life. So don't donate to the podcast. Put your money away. Go do that instead. Anyway, guys, I'm away here. I've got to get packed for Paris. I love you all so much. It's great. I'm loving this podcast. Big smooches. All the best. And I will talk to you soon. Mwah, mwah, mwah.